In today's India, internet is not a luxury. It's the bloodstream of our nation. From farmer checking crop prices in a remote village to a young graduate cracking her first job interview online, to small shops thriving on digital payments. This invisible network keeps 1.4 billion dreams alive and the Indian economy rolling. But what if India's internet lifeline slipped through our fingers? Now imagine if this lifeline rested in the hands of just a few players. No competition, no choice, and the entire nation's dream running through a narrow gate. And here's why that matters. India's economy is now deeply wired into digital networks. Digital services already contributed nearly 200 billion to the India's GDP and are projected to cross 1 trillion by 2030. From UPI payments that processes 14 billion transactions a month to e-commerce that fuels a small business, our growth is no longer brick and mortar. It's broadband and bytes. So if the gate narrows, it's not just the internet speed that suffers. It's India's economy that takes the pain. And we don't even have to imagine what looks like. We have already seen how critical this network is during the COVID-19. When lockdowns froze the country, the internet became the oxygen. From students in rural Madhya Pradesh climbing trees in the hills just to catch a small signal for online classes, to patients in remote parts of India struggling with the patchy video consultations, and shopkeepers of small towns relying on QR codes during those frozen moments of economic lockdown. But today, that fragility hasn't vanished yet. Recently, Times of India data shows that over 1,900 villages in Odisha still lack any mobile phone connectivity, cutting the entire community from the digital world. And here's the bigger picture. Despite these struggles, India's telecom backbone is increasingly concentrated in the hands of just two players. Airtel holds around 34% of wireless subscribers, while Jio leads with approximately 41%. Together, they control nearly 75% of India's mobile market. Now, if either one stumbles or hikes prices, the ripple effect won't just be in the tech news. It will be felt in the classrooms, hospitals, and homes across India. According to Times of India, that risk isn't distant, it's already here. Telecom Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia has warned a duopoly is not healthy for any sector, while P. Chidambaram has urged saving Vodafone Idea to stop our digital lifeline from falling into a chokehold. And the concern is real, because as of today, India's telecom market rests almost entirely on two names, Airtel and Jio. Together, they don't just dominate subscribers. Their combined weight shapes prices, services, and even the pace of digital innovation. And if you look closely, you will notice that something is striking. When one moves, the other often follows, almost in a lockstep. We will come back on this pricing puzzle a little later on this video, because before we can understand where this India's telecom market is heading, we need to understand how we have got here. This duopoly didn't emerge by accident. It's a result of years of shakeouts, exits, and policy turns. Let's rewind. Back in mid 2000s, India's telecom scene was a buzzing marketplace. You had Airtel, Vodafone, Idea, BSNL, MTNL, Tata Docomo, Reliance Communication, ASL, Telenor, MTS. More than a dozen players fighting tooth and nail. Call rates dropped to some lowest in the world. SIM cards were cheaper than a cup of chai, and the data packs became pocket friendly almost overnight. Then came the 2G spectrum scandal of 2010, which didn't just rock the political corridors, it shook the entire telecom sector. Several smaller players were forced to shut down after the Supreme Court cancelled 122 licenses in 2012. The market began consolidating, while the real shakeup was little ahead. In 2016, Reliance Jio entered like a storm, offering free calls, dart cheap data, and unlimited trials for months. Consumers loved it, competitors bled. With just 2 years, data consumption in India became the highest in the world. But the price war also pushed weaker telecoms into financial ICU. By 2018, Vodafone and Idea, two of the oldest rivals, merged in desperation. Others like ASL, Tata Teleservices, and Telenor either exited or got absorbed or faded into history. Even the once mighty Reliance Telecoms shut down. Today, after this decade-long churn, only three private players remain: Jio, Airtel, and Vodafone Idea, with the last one gasping for survival. BSNL is still in ICU, so we cannot consider that. So if Vodafone Idea falls, India's telecom future can be locked into a two-horse race. This brings us to the critical question: what happens when two companies hold the key to the country's digital lifeline? When just two companies dominate a market, economists call it a duopoly. And in such cases, prices don't always rise because of a secret deal. Instead, something more subtle often happens. It's called shadow pricing. When the competitors aware of each other's move, adjust their prices in lockstep without ever sitting in the same room. And here's the kicker: this isn't just a theory. We are seeing it play out in the Indian telecom industry right now. In mid 2024, Reliance Jio increased its mobile tariffs by 12% to 25% across different plans. The very next day, Airtel followed with its own 11 to 21% hike, almost identical in scale and timing. No public agreement, no collusion on paper, but this is exactly how shadow pricing works. Each player watches each other's move and mirrors it. Together, Jio and Airtel now control almost 75% of India's telecom subscribers, with Vodafone Idea shrinking fast. That's when the danger begins. Prices can rise, services can stagnate, and rural areas might get ignored. In India, that future might not be far away because it's already in motion. The pattern isn't unique to India. In fact, history shows that when telecom markets shrink just to a couple of powerful players, the consequences are almost predictable. From Latin America to Europe, the story repeats itself, and the lessons are too important to ignore. Take Mexico, for instance. There, telecom was dominated by America Mobile, estimated to control about 75% of the mobile and 80% of the fixed line services by 2013. That kind of market share didn't just reduce choice for the people, it added nearly $25 billion a year in lost economic warfare. The government had to step in, launching aggressive antitrust reforms to restore competition and expand access, especially in rural areas. In United States, the story of AT&T shows how powerful a telecom monopoly or duopoly can become. AT&T, known as Ma Bell, controlled telephony nationwide for most of the 20th century until it was forcibly broken up in 1984 into regional carriers known as Baby Bells. That breakup unleashed vibrant competition, lowered long distance rates, and accelerated innovation. Because when two companies dominate a sector as critical as telecom, the damage goes far beyond your monthly bill. First, it widens the digital inequality gap. In a competitive market, operators race to capture every customer, even in remote areas. But in duopoly, rural and low income regions often become low priority zones, too expensive to serve, too little profit to chase. Remember the BSNL 4G delay? While private players flooded metro cities with fast data, many villages waited years just for a stable 3G. And now history risks repeating. Except this time, there's no third private challenger to fill the gap. Second, a duopoly leads to service stagnation. When you have just two main choices, where's the urgency to fix dropped calls or slow speeds? In Australia's duopoly era of the late 2000s, download speeds actually plateaued for years despite rising demand, until a third entrant shook things up. Third, innovation suffers. India's 5G rollout might look fast on papers, but what about the real coverage? That's another story you all know. And finally, regulatory capture. When two giants dominate, they can throw their combined lobbying weight to influence spectrum policy, pricing rules, and even regulatory decisions. In Canada, where Rogers and Bell control over 70% of the wireless market, consumer watchdogs have repeatedly accused the duopoly of keeping prices among the highest in the OECD. As the telecom sector isn't just another business, it's the backbone of India's digital future. From UPI payments to online education, from telemedicine to rural e-commerce. If competition dies here, the cost isn't just economic, it's social. It's about who gets left behind in the digital age. Other countries have faced this and they have fought back. In Canada, regulators forced Big Three, Bell, Rogers, and Telus, to share their network with smaller players. This resulted in prices getting dropped, choices getting expanded. In Mexico too, they built Red Comparative, a shared 4G network open to everyone. Overnight, rural connectivity exploded. And when one company got too powerful, Regulators stepped in and broke its monopoly grip. These changes didn't come from the government alone. They came because citizens, journalists, small businesses refused to accept a future with no choices or ever rising prices. That's the choice India faces now. Do we want a future where two giants decide the cost of every bite we consume? Or one where every Indian, from a farmer checking market rates to a student in a remote village, has affordable, reliable internet? Because once a duopoly sets in, taking back competition is 10 times harder and far more expensive than protecting it now. So here's my ask. Don't let this become tomorrow's regret. Share this video, talk about it, make some noise. Because the fight for fair telecom isn't just about tech. It's about future of India's digital freedom. A truly connected India isn't just faster internet. It's equal opportunity in every village, every school, every home. And that dream is still within reach if we demand it. Remember, if we lose the competition today, we may lose our digital freedom tomorrow. If you have liked this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more deep dives into the world of economics. Thanks for watching.